And now I get the opportunity to introduce somebody who I truly have a ton of respect for. As I've watched him grow his business, it's been amazing to see the leadership that he has, the natural skills that he has, the loyalty that his team has for him, and the respect that they have for him is something that has been truly inspiring. And he's just an amazing individual. Every time he teaches, I am inspired. I'm taking notes. I'm learning. He's full of wisdom, and he presents things with such clarity. It's so easy to understand. So put a bunch of hearts in the chat for our double diamond, Keith Williams.
Hey, hey, hey. Man, appreciate that amazing introduction, Daniel, man. I enjoy our conversations, right? And enjoy when we have a chance to be in the same room together. Man, your heart for this company is truly amazing, man. So put some hearts in the chat for Daniel, man, because he truly has a heart for the people in this company. Man, good to see some familiar, right, faces out there. Hey, Philip, how you doing? Miss Comfort, Brandon, man, always, always, right? Hey, Miss Lauren, hey, Xavier, how y'all doing? Hey, what's up, Kim? Sabrina, man, how all you got? I can keep naming names forever. And this we would have to title this the name game training, right? So no, but guys, man, I'm truly excited. Humbled to be still on the right side of the dirt, man. It's a humbling experience when you think of the problems that you know that you foresee in the day, right? That most of them haven't even occurred yet, but you're just worried about them anyway. Sometimes, man, you just got to breathe. It don't matter what the weather's like, right? The fact that you get to breathe is the most important, right? I don't care if it's raining, storming, sunny, cold, or hot. If I have breath in my body, then it's a beautiful day, man. So I'm grateful, and I think we should start every day off with gratitude. And I'm grateful to be here, grateful for the opportunity, and grateful for where this company is going, man. Where's my girl Sarah at, man? She crushed it yesterday, right? Hey, Philip, and getting your people plugged into these AM powers, you're missing out, right? Am I freezing?
You're good
Am
now.
I?
It did freeze up for a little bit.
Okay, cool, cool, good. Internet do be tripping over here sometime. I don't know. Maybe the birds. But but yeah, guys, plug into these AM powers, man. Get this information. People pay tens of thousands of dollars for the information that we receive on a daily basis, right? For the knowledge that we receive. And sometimes it's about things that we are going through emotional, right? And somebody gets on and they talk about similar situations and then we relate to those situations. Right? Or somebody comes in and they talk about how to build your business or different systems and ideas that you can use to grow your business and scale up. And so there's so many things that you can learn because it's all a process. It's all a journey. And guys, one thing you have to understand is that in this industry, you have to become a master, right? And I hope people got their pens, I hope they got their notebooks. And I hope you're writing some of these things down. And today I don't have a PowerPoint because we got a ton of things going on. Plus, hey, it's close out. So we should, we're locking in, closing out the month strong so we can open up the next one strong. So a lot of moving parts, but I do got my notes here. And so you're gonna have to write while I talk from the notes. But guys, it's just, when you have to be a master at people, right? When I say you have to master people, you have to understand people. We're in the people business. We're in the people business, man, and people are going to come with all sets of emotions, right? And all sets of baggage, and it's like, and I'm not trying to step on any toes, but I came into this industry with baggage, right? I came into this industry coming from a single parent home, right? Coming from a mother who at one time was an addict, right? And then got in the church and changed their life and thank God for that, right? 10 different schools, 4 different states. And so you can imagine at 19, 20 years old, coming from that environment, what type of baggage I brought to this industry. I brought all that with me. And it took time for me to release some of that baggage, right? It took time for me to grow. I had to get around the right people. I had to have the right conversations. All right. I had to get the proper mentorship. And but most importantly, I had to understand myself, and then I had to understand people. I said I'm in the people business. This is not a brick and mortar business. This is a people business, guys, and we don't build businesses. We build people, and people build businesses, right? And so in dealing with people and understanding people and mastering those emotions, because people leading people, guys, like herding cats, right? Try that for a living. Try to herd cats, right? And I heard that people are harder to herd than cats, right? And when you look at that, leading people that have free choice, people that have things that are going on, people that are dealing with family, right? Single moms that are dealing with their kids, right? Spouses that are managing each other's schedule and the kids, people that are managing other businesses and other careers, and then to get them in their part-time, right? I don't care if they're a full-time mom, I don't care if they're a full-time business person, I don't care if they have a full-time job. But after dealing with those day to day, right, then in those hours of spare time, leading those people to make those hours productive and build a business, right, with everything else that they have going on. That's a skill set, right? That's not something that um you just come into this industry and that's just something that you do. That's a skill set, right? Building this business is a skill set. Becoming a professional network marketer, and I say the difference between an amateur and a professional. I've said it before that amateurs don't get paid, professionals do. So being a professional in this industry and getting to a point where your paycheck is consistent, where your business is scaling up when it's growing, and when the income becomes significant, and maybe to a point where you find yourself being financially free and you don't have that 9 to 5 anymore. If that's your desire, or maybe it complements what you're doing from another business that you're running, and it complements it. Maybe it's money that you set aside for retirement, right? But whatever the goal is, to get to that point, where the cash flow is significant enough for you to say, hey, this business is making a difference, you're going to have to become a master at understanding people, right? Managing emotions and managing expectation. That's a skill set. And that's not my topic, right? But that's the warm up to the topic, guys, the prelude, right? My topic is the three types of networkers. There's three types of networkers. In this industry, you got to understand when to change those hats, because all these three types, they're all significant and they all play an intricate part in building your business. And those three types are: number one, right, is the gatherer, right? The gatherer. Number two is the nurturer, and number three is the builder. Right. And I know we have, leaders on here that have built six-figure and seven-figure organizations and teams of tens of thousands of people. And they might categorize these in different ways, but this is the way that works for me. And it really inspired this topic this morning is when David was talking about, building your business. And he was talking about being in zone one. He was talking about managing. And one thing I realized when he was going through that training is I realized where I was in my business currently, what season I was in. And not that it's a bad place to be, but it's not where I should be in that season, right? Being a networker, guys, a professional is understanding what season your business is in, and what one of these three things that I'm about to talk about, which one should you be implementing? Now, a great networker knows how to do all three of them at the same time before lunch is over with, right? But we'll get there eventually. But David said one thing that he talked about, he said being a manager producer, right? Being a manager producer, Eric Eve, right? And that's where I was, right? And I called his name because he's my sponsor, and he could see the numbers, right? Men lie, women lie, numbers don't. You know what I'm saying? And so I was a manager producer. That's the stage I was in. But I know at this season, what's going on now, I need to be in that producer mode. I need to be in zone one, and that's me. And maybe right now you're in a different season in your business, but let's talk about that, right? Because the biggest mistake people make in this profession is believing that they only have one job, right? The biggest mistake that people make in this profession is believing they only have one job, right? Some people believe that, hey, I'm a retailer, I got great products, I'm a retail, right? Some people feel like they're a great recruiter and they recruit, right? And some people feel like once they get a team, and some people, when they get three people, you can't convince them that they don't have a team, right? They have a team now. But my mentor said that you don't have a team until you have multiple leaders in that team, right? And so if that's not the case, then you should be plugged into a team that's producing those type of results. And that means that you still need some mentorship and some leadership. And so I used to think that, right? I remember I got my first few people. It took me a year and a half when I got in a year and a half in this industry to recruit my first person. That's how bad I was, right? That, a year and a half to recruit my first person. And then when I had a few people on my team, you couldn't tell me that I wasn't leading, right? But when I look back, nobody was following. So I was just taking a long walk by myself, right? I had to understand that I had to develop that skill set. But the truth is, there are three types: the gatherer, the nurturer, and the builder. And so, when you wake up in the morning, guys, you don't ask yourself, how many people can I recruit? Instead, what does my organization need today? Right? What does my organization need today? So let's talk about type one, the gatherer, which is very important because the gatherer creates opportunities. Right? Without gathering, guys, there's no customers, there's no affiliates, there's no leaders, there's no momentum. There's nothing happens when you're not gathering, right? And I use the word gathering because in that gathering season, you're gathering seeds that you've planted, right? Whether it's harvest time is 3, 4 months later, right? Or whether you've built those relationships in the past, and you see people come into business. Sometimes they have initial success, right? They come in, they have initial success. It's just booming for them. They're hitting ranks, right? Breaking records. And then you have some people that later on down the line, right? They start having that success later on down the line, guys. Um, all those are seeds that they planted, right? People that come in and have that immediate success and they start breaking ranks and they start developing other ranks. Like, man, these guys are killing it, right? That's because that harvest was those seeds were planted at some time. And maybe when this business came into their life and that alignment was ready, it aligned with their harvest season, right? And because the harvest was plentiful at that time, because the seeds they planted in the past, then they had that immediate growth in their business, right? And then you're comparing your harvest to their harvest, right? But what you should be comparing is the seeds that were planted, right? Because guys, if you ain't plant the seed, right, the seed is not planted, then there should be no expectation of a harvest. And then you have people that were planting seeds along the way, and then their harvest just showed up later, right? Think about it, Eric Eve, right, guys. There's no expansion. There's no expansion without the planting process. And so he was planting his seeds, and then 22 months later, it was harvest season, right? It was harvest season, and guess what? I know Eric Eve. He was during that drought, or maybe some people would have looked at it as a drought. He was still planting in that drought, right? And now, boom, here comes his harvest, and then people are looking like, man, I need that happen. I need what happened to Eric to happen to me, right? But there were no seeds planted, guys. And so the gathering season is important. Your pipeline is your paycheck. Your pipeline is your paycheck, right? Ask Eric Eve what his paycheck looked 14, 15 months ago and what it looks like now. And ask him, is his pipeline equal to his paycheck? And I'm quite sure he'll tell you, yes, it is, right? And so, guys, there's a time to gather. Gather is always meeting people. They're always expanding their network. They're always going through and adding to their list, right? They're asking for referrals. They're posting consistently and they're active on social media, right? And they're not posting for likes, but they're posting for profit because they want to monetize their social media because social media is monetizing you, right? And so I'm not people like I'm not on social media yet much because my check don't come from social media. I spend time where my check comes from. But when I do post, when I am on social media, I'm posting for profit, right? I'm posting for attraction. I'm posting to start conversations. I'm not posting just to post, right? They're inviting and creating consistent exposures, right? That's what in your gathering season, that's what you have to do when you're gathering, right? And so you never harvest what you never planted, right? Exposure creates expansion, right? Write that down, guys. Exposure creates expansion, right? And I got to bring up my man again because this is what's happening to his organization right now, right? Exposures create expansion. A seed that was planted 22 months ago, right? That comes along now and then now, thousands of people waiting for him on another continent. Don't tell me that exposure doesn't create expansion, right? And so we got to know what season we're in. We got to know what hat to wear. And so you got to know when to wear your gathering hat, guys. If you're new to this company, if you're just getting started, then you should definitely be in your gathering season, right? You can't come in this business and be in 2 months and then expect to be in your leadership and development season. I'm developing leaders. No, you should be gathering, right? You should be gathering. And so your daily question, how many new conversations did I start today? How many names did I add to my list today? How many exposures happened today in my organization? How many exposures happened to me today, right? Personally. And then type two, let's talk about the nurture because I can spend a lot of time on the gathering because that's the season I'm in right now. I'm 50 wide currently, right? It took me 14, 15 months to go 50 wide. And guess what? It's time now to go another 50 wide because I understand that the people that got me to where I am now are not necessarily going to be the people that's going to get me to where I'm going, right? Where I'm going requires more gathering. It acquires more exposure. It acquires me approaching more leadership, right? And so I understand that. And so I should be in my gathering season. But type two is the nurturer, right? The nurturer, guys. We all need to be nurtured, right? We all need to be nurtured. I had a leader that walked away from his team. I didn't have a relationship with that team. I had to build a relationship with that team. And even though, right, they might trust in my leadership, I know what season that requires from me, right? That's a nurturing season. The relationships have to be developed, right? The work chemistry has to be there. The trust has to be established because they don't know me, right? And so I know that that team needs to be nurtured. And so, guys, you have to know the nurture. They build belief, right? The nurturer builds relationships. It builds trust, right? And it builds retention because trust builds retention. When you nurture a team, when you recognize a team properly, right? When you answer those questions, when you deal with the transition, and guys, any transition comes with trauma. I don't care what type of transition that you go through, transition creates trauma, right? Transition creates trauma. When a baby is transitioning from the womb, right, out into the living and now taking their first breath, trauma is there on the mother who birthed that child, right? But trauma doesn't necessarily relate to something bad because a woman will go through that trauma, have a child, and guess what? She'll have another one because during that transition, during that trauma, it also breathes life into your organization. And without those transitions, without that trauma, then the growth doesn't happen. Growth doesn't happen, right? Without that transition and that trauma of birthing a child, right? That child doesn't grow. Life doesn't happen. And so when you look at the transition as a company we went through, right? Did it create some growth? Yeah, it created some learning experience, right? It allowed me to understand where I was weak at. It allowed me to understand where I should have been focusing my attention at, right? It allowed me to understand some things about myself and say, hey, man, you're not as strong as you thought you was in that area. You're not the leader that you thought you was, right? You need some more mentorship, right? You need to, and guess what? I went to Brooke, I went to David in those times, in that transition, and Brooke was an amazing nurturer, right? For me and my team, the nurture is important, guys, right? And so most people do not join because of presentations. Most people do not join because of leadership and products, right? They join because someone stayed connected. Someone stayed connected because someone established that relationship, because someone took the time to manage those expectations, to manage those emotions, to take the time to develop, right? And we make mistakes in the nurture. My mentor told me three things. First thing he told me, he said, don't get mad at your money, right? The second thing he told me was never argue with your downline. Right. And the third thing he told me, he says, tolerate while you taproot. And I say that third one again, tolerate while you taproot. Because that very person that you got mad at, right, could have been the connection to the next seven-figure earner on your team. But you let your emotions, right? You let your lack of skill set when understanding people get in the way and not tolerate long enough for you to taproot, right? And that's getting mad at your money, right? Those arguments stunt growth because you don't even take the time to develop and nurse the relationship long enough to get results. right? And this is the part of the a business that people don't tell you about, right? We see the presentation, we get excited, we see the money, we get excited, we have those emotions and we get excited, we believe we're going to take over the world and make $1 gazillion, and then the work starts. And then you really understand, oh, this is something that requires this is a real business. It requires a real skill set, right? It's not as easy as I thought it was. Now the systems make it simple, but the business is not easy. And we got to stop telling people the business is easy, right? Because I'm not even on step 3 yet. And some of us can't do one of them at a time, right? But guys, this is skill set. If you want to be great in this industry, and you only got a certain amount of time to be great, right? I didn't come here. I don't believe I'm on this earth for nothing else but to be great as I can be, because the opportunity was given to me to be greatness. I'm not here to be mediocre or average, right? That's not at all. That's not the plan. That's not the intention. Whatever I would have done, right? If I would have still been doing what I was doing back in the day, I promise you I would have been great at it, right? It would have been two consequences to those actions, but I would have been great at it, because how you do anything is how you do everything, right? And so we have an opportunity through this business model to be great, right? To really help people. And when you're doing these things, guys, there's very little room for drama, right? It's very little room for to get off focus, right? For distractions when you're doing these things. When you're spending time gathering and nurturing, you really don't have time for those things. When those things intercede in your business, that's because you're not busy enough building your business. You're not busy enough building your business, right? And so, guys, nurture celebrates wins. They recognize, right? They check in with people. They answer questions. They edify leadership. They encourage. They invite again. And what I mean, invite again, they go back and they look, and they look for people that are inactive. They look for people that haven't used a product, and maybe that person just fell off. But the nurturer is going to check and see, because maybe that person just need to be touched, right? And all that, right? You're dealing with people, and you got to touch those people sometime. Touching people creates profit too. These are things that you got to do to create profit. And because it's not a brick and mortar, we don't focus on these things. But this is how you generate profit in your business, right? You go touch 10 people today, and 3 of them, hey, said, hey, they just needed a phone call. They reactivate at least at 50 PV. That's 150 PV in volume. That's profit. It might seem small to you, but man, look, I don't turn down nothing but my collar. I take it all. Nickels, pennies, dimes, quarters, it all adds up, right? But it's the way that you do it. I'm not saying that I monetize people, and I'm not emotional. I'm just saying, as a nurture, these things create profit, and we're in here to make a profit. But it's this industry that we in is a very sensitive and fickle industry, because we're dealing with people. If you don't learn how to do these things, guys, right, it's going to be a hard journey. And so, key principle: relationships build organizations. If all you do is recruit, you'll consistently replace people. And so you could be the gatherer, the gatherer, and you could be the recruiter. I know a lot of people that recruit, and that's a dangerous stage to be in. And let me see, I wish I had time to talk about it, because I don't. I got one more. I got the type 3, right? But I will say this: a lot of people come in and recruit, guys, and they recruit a lot of people, and they have a lot of momentum, and they have a lot of success. And I remember my mentor did a training. It was called the quick, the fast, and the dead. And he said everybody sees the quick success in the beginning, but nobody sees the funeral that happens in the back of the room, because those people just got in the gathering stage, and once the thrill is gone, they're gone with it to do it again, because they're addicted, right? Being a gatherer, guys, is like a heroin shot, right? And I'm sorry if I'm being too visual or graphic, but I grew up in that era, right? And it's like that shot of heroin that somebody takes, and they get addicted, and they're chasing that high for the rest of their life. And when that high is gone, they got to go recreate it. Watch out for those individuals, because that's an addiction, and you don't want to follow somebody that has that type of addiction, because the nurture part is not there, right? It's disguised in conversation, and it looks good on stage, but nobody sees the funeral from the quick, fast, and the dead, because once that initial, right, once that initial thrill is gone, they don't know how to nurture their team. They got to go, because they don't know how to keep their team together, right? They're addicted to that first 90 days to 6 months of quick, fast money from just being a recruiter, but they don't know how to nurture, right? Have my team, have some of my leaders been through some hard times? Have some of my leaders been through some ups and downs in their income? Has some of my team had to start over and rebuild? Yes, they have. Are they still here? Yes. And they're still here and they're still plugged in and there's still time for them to win. People don't stick around long enough, right, to reap the harvest. And so that's another story for another day, right? I'm not going to spend too much time there. But guys, let's talk about type three so we can wrap this thing up. Let's talk about the builder, right? Let's talk about the builder. Guys, builders, right, develop leaders, right? And a lot of times when you're looking at these three types, a lot of times you'll be stronger in different areas, and that's okay. Right? Find somebody that's stronger in the area that you're weak in. If you're not a good gatherer, right? If you're not a good recruiter, then find somebody that is a good recruiter. If you're not a great nurturer and you're not a great people person, right? And people irritate you, definitely find somebody that knows how to nurture. Because if people irritate you, you might be in the wrong business. I tell you all the time, if you can't get along with people and you don't like people, man, you might want to go check out some other career options because this is not the business for people that don't like people. Let's get that out the way now, right? And I don't understand how people that don't like people get involved in network marketing. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just saying that you might want to, learn how to nurture it. But guys, my strong suit is a builder, right? My strong suit is a builder, but as a professional, you get good in each area. So as a builder, guys, like I said, a builder asks themselves, who can replace me? Right? Who can replace me? Who well, a builder creates duplication, right? They develop people that do and understand how to do presentations, that understand how to run Zooms and do proper presentations on Zooms, that understands how to train, right? How to do home meetings, three-way calls. Because you have to develop that skill set. A builder knows how to teach people how to develop that skill set. And it might take you a while to get there, right? It might take you a while to get there because now you have to improve your leadership skills because building requires you to understand how to lead, right? And if you're not a great leader or a good leader or not a leader at all, but you desire to sharpen that skill set, then you should be indulged in things that could teach you how to sharpen that skill set. I was talking to Eric the other day, and me and him both said, "Hey man, we got to pull out the John C. Maxwell book." Right? One of my favorite ones, guys. If you're trying to be a leader, right? And if you want to know if you're a leader, look behind you. If ain't nobody following you, ain't no results, then you need to sharpen that skill set, right? And so, one of my favorite books by John C. Maxwell is the Five Levels of Leadership. That's my favorite book. That's the book that I believe people say 21 and few, but y'all no, start with the Five Levels of Leadership. Because I love the five levels of leadership because the first level, which is the lowest level of leadership, is positional leadership. And a lot of us believe because we have a title that makes us a leader, and that's absolutely false. Right? I know a lot of people with a lot of titles that don't lead anybody. They just have a title. That's positional leadership. Skip to number five, he talks about pinnacle leadership, right? And I've been doing this for 27 years and I still haven't I'm still in the leadership balance between four and three. I'm still trying to develop pinnacle leadership. It takes time to be a pinnacle leader. It takes time to learn how to be a gatherer, a nurturer, and a builder at the same time. And know when to take off those hats and when to put those hats on and when you got to wear all three hats at the same time, right? Because I was talking to Daniel before the call started. He was asking me how I was doing. I said, "Man, hey, I'm in all three of those at the same time. I'm nurturing and putting out fires and trying to keep teams together. I'm recruiting, trying to close out the month, building, developing. I'm trying to do all three of those things at the same time because I don't really have a whole lot of time to figure it out because I know what season we are in our business, right? And I'm not trying to make anybody nervous, but if I were you, I'd be trying to figure it out too because right now we're going into a stage of concentration. When you see global growth, when you see people breaking ranks in other countries, when you see people traveling, when you see a company bringing people in for focused leadership like a Jesse Nelson to help grow American account numbers, that means a company is concentrating on growth. And at the concentration, momentum is not far behind. And what you don't want to happen is in the middle of momentum, you look behind you and ain't nobody following you, right? Because one times one is one. That's just food for thought, right? And so, key principle. You don't build business, guys. You build people, and people build the business. If everything depends on you, you don't own a business, you own a job. All right. If everything depends on you, you don't own a business, you own a job. At some point in time, you have to, right? You have to become a builder. And builder requires a special type of leadership, right? And all three of these things that I mentioned, the gatherer, the nurturer, the builder, guys, right? Those three things require you to have an understanding of people, mastering people's emotions, understanding how to tolerate, right? How not to get emotional, how to understand that, hey, this is my money, right? There's nothing wrong with that. We're in business. We're here to make money, right? We care about people. We love on people too. But at the same time, you have to get what's the use of being a nurturer and loving on people if you can't get people to produce, right? And what's the use of production if you're the only one producing? All three of these things are things that you have to learn, right? But getting along with people and understanding people and learning how to build and develop people and build relationships with people, that should be the first skill set you should practice in this industry, in this business, right? The secret, guys, the secret, the average networker does one. The good networker does two. The great networker knows how to do all three and do all three before the lunch hour, right? And so the daily formula is when you're going through those things is understanding where you're at. Who am I gathering, right? Who did I expose today? Right? How many people on my list did I expose today? Right? I was having a conversation with somebody the other day that has somebody on their list, and they know thousands of people, and that person on their list is a seven-figure earner in the industry, and that person on the list is in the business, and that person on the list is not under them; they're under somebody else. I tell everybody, and I will say this, and I mean it, and I will argue it. It's irrefutable that everybody on this Zoom got somebody in their phone that can set them free financially. And even if it's not the person in your phone, that person in your phone has a list. And somebody on that list can set you free financially. 6 degrees of separation. And so if we haven't even got to the point where our list is on paper, we might need to find another career option. If you're not going to put the list on paper, you might as well find another career option. Somebody got to tell it like it is and be truthful and honest with you. If you ain't took your list out your phone and put it on paper, right? And you've been in this industry for 90 days and you won't do that one thing, you might want another career option. And that career, it's slim out there too with AI and everything. It's scary out there, man. People like, oh man, you doing network marketing? I said, yes, sir. It's safe over here. We ain't never downsizing. We ain't never firing. We always hiring. We steady growing. I don't want to do nothing that's scary outside. Right? This is my safe place. And so if you do decide to have another career option, right? I'm just telling you right now, it's cold in them streets. But look, man, daily formula. Who am I gathering? Who did I expose today, right? Nurturing. Who am I nurturing? Who needs encouragement? Who needs to whose belief needs to be worked on, right? Or who do I need to follow with just to see how they're doing? Right? And who am I building? Who am I developing into future leaders? Right? Who's my focus group? David Neves talks about a project. Who's my project? Right? I was talking about David the other day, and I was talking about one of his legs that has multiple diamonds in it, colored diamonds, right? The legs look like a rainbow. And you know what I'm saying? He really don't have to do nothing but check in on them. And at that point, there's nothing left to do but nurture that leg, right? The gathering process was him initiating the process. The building process was the multiple lead. That's leadership, right? You want to know what leadership looks like? You want to know what it means to be a leader and have a team? When you have a leg that has multiple diamonds in it, that's a team, right? We have a group of individuals and all of you at affiliate, you might want to plug into some leadership. I'm just being honest. I hope I'm not hurting no feelings. I hope I'm not stepping on no toes. I hope everybody got they steel toe work boots on. All right. And so, guys, closing challenge. Closing challenge, right? Uh gathering creates activity. Gathering creates activity. And so if you don't have activity that you want in your organization, you have to create it. It's going to start with you, right? And nurturing, it creates loyalty. It creates loyalty. People stay around when you know that they care about them, right? And builders create stability. And so when you look at activity, activity pays today. All this stuff is for profit. I could take all these three components and plug them right into the compensation plan, right? Because these things I'm talking about create the right behavior. Gathering creates activity. When you go sell a product, do you make money today? Yes. When you go recruit somebody, do you get a first order bonus? Yes. Right? When your recruits are recruiting, do you get a 50% check match? Yes. Nurturing creates loyalty. When people stay around, they stick and stay, and they in the business because you care about them, and they're still ordering product. Does that not create volume because they're ordering? Does that not impact your residual income? Right? So loyalty pays tomorrow. Nurturing pays tomorrow. The people that are still in my organization that I nurtured on and loved on 15 months ago are still here, which means I'm still getting paid from that organization. Right? And then builders, like I said, create stability, and stability pays forever. Stability pays forever. There's people in Amway right now, and Amway is probably, it's definitely older than me, right? That are making $90,000 a month that haven't even been in a convention in 10, 15 years. That's stability. And guess what? They're under somebody. That's stability, right? And stability pays forever, guys. Momentum is created by consistently gathering, intentionally nurturing, and relentlessly building. That's how organizations multiply. And you know, my organization, what we say, we don't die, we multiply, right? And so, guys, that's what I have, right? And I appreciate you guys for tuning in this morning. Man, I hope that everybody is registered for October event. Vital Fest, man, it's going to be amazing, right? It's going to be amazing. Vital Fest is going to be where dreams are created and dreams come true, right? Because there's going to be new people there that buy into the dream and see the dream and they create their dream, right? But there's going to be some people that walked across that stage because of the dream, and those dreams are going to become their reality. So make sure that you register for that event, guys. So I'm just going to go ahead, man, allow everybody to unmute because everything that I need to say has been said. So there's nothing left to say. I love you guys. That's all I have.
We love you, Keith. Thank you
I
so much.
appreciate it.
Thank you, Lord.
Thank you,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank
Coaching
you.
coach. Thank you,
Yes,
Keith. Thank you.
absolutely
Thank you.
amazing
Keith,
job.
thank you so
Thank you
much.
so
Come on
much.
in,
Thank
everybody.
you,
Thank
God.
you so much.
Yes, we
Amazing.
Thank you,
need
sir.
it.
Thank
We
you,
Five
need it.
sir.
blessings all.
Let's go
Yes.
get this
They want you to
money.
do it, but they scared.
Awesome
Thank
call.
you.
Thank you,
Yes.
Kate.
Yes.
Awesome
Woo!
call.
Have a good
Yeah,
one.
not
Very powerful.
Y'all